Hi everyone, this is one of our problem solving lessons. We're going to look at solving problems involving time. Hi everyone, this lesson is going to be a problem solving lesson involving time. And the way that these lessons work is that you pause the video, give the question a go, and then we'll look at the solution together. So give this question a go. Anastasia cycles to her granny's house, which takes her 35 minutes. She stays with her granny for 2.5 hours and then cycles back home, taking a detour. If her total time for the trip is 3 hours and 58 minutes, how long was her cycle home? So let's just do a quick diagram just to visualize what's going on. So presuming she started from home and she cycles to her granny's house. So that's granny's house. And this first bit of the journey took her 35 minutes. She then stays with her granny for 2.5 hours. So we just extend that out. She's still at her granny's house, but she's there for 2.5 hours. And then cycles back home, taking a detour. So she then travels all the way back home. If her total time for the trip, so what that means is the time that it takes her to get to her granny's house and back, that total time is 3 hours and 58 minutes. How long was her cycle home? So let's let the cycle home be equal to x. That's what we want to find. And what we know is her total time for the trip is equal to the 35 minutes on the way there. Add on the 2.5 hours she stayed at her granny's house. And then add on the trip back home, the cycle back home, which was x. And we also know that the total time for the journey is equal to 3 hours and 58 minutes. So let's set these two equal to each other. I know that her trip was 35 minutes plus 2.5 hours plus the unknown journey home. And we know that's equal to 3 hours and 58 minutes. So what I want to do is I want to add together the 35 minutes and the 2.5 hours and take that away from the 3 hours and 58 minutes. Problem solving questions like this are best done by thinking about them in detail first, and then when we've got a good idea of what we need to calculate, only then do we go ahead and do that. So it is a calculator lesson, so I'm going to make the most of my calculator. I want to do 35 minutes, add 2.5 hours. So let's go into my calculator and we'll use the notation that we looked at in the previous lesson. I'm going to type 0 shift plus and then 35 shift plus. This is telling my calculator I've got 0 hours, 35 minutes. And I want to add on this 2.5 hours. So I'll type 2.5 shift plus. My calculator reads this as 0 hours, 35 minutes, add 2.5 hours. And if I hit execute, it tells me that this is 3 hours, 5 minutes. These two added together. So now I can rewrite this as 3 hours and 5 minutes, add x is equal to 3 hours, 58 minutes. And then what I can do is I can do my 3 hours, 58 minutes, take away my 3 hours and 5 minutes. Really the quickest way to do that is to do 58, take away 5, which gives us 53. So x is equal to 53 minutes. How long was her cycle home? Well, we said that x was her cycle home, so 53 minutes is my answer to that question. Okay, pause the video and give this next problem a go, and then we'll run through the solution together. So Fred regularly drives to Dublin for work. Each round trip takes him an average of 4 hours and 15 minutes. He makes 9 round trips each calendar month. In the month of June, does Fred spend more than 5% of his total time driving to and from Dublin? Assume this month has 30 days. Okay, so we want to get an idea of what's going on in this question. So Fred's driving to Dublin for work. And each round trip, so that means there and back, takes him an average of 4 hours and 15 minutes. And he makes 9 round trips each calendar month. So the first thing I could do is I could work out the total time he spends driving, and that would be equal to the time he spends on one round trip, so 4 hours, 15 minutes, multiplied by how many round trips he makes. So let's say the total time spent driving is equal to the 4 hours and 15 minutes for one round trip, multiplied by the 9 round trips. And this is equal to, well, let's go to our calculator for that. Let's type in 4 hours, so 4 shift plus 15 minutes, so 15 shift plus. The calculator reads that as 4 hours and 15 minutes. Multiply that by 9, And that gives us a total time of 38 hours and 15 minutes spent driving. Let's look at the next sentence. In the month of June, does Fred spend more than 5% of his total time driving to and from Dublin? So the total time refers to all the time in the month of June. And we want to know, is the 38 hours and 15 minutes more than 5% of the time in June? So let's work out the total time in June. And we know there are 30 days in June. So we know there are 30 days in June. We want to work in terms of hours because that's what we have here for his time spent driving. So 30 days, well, every day has 24 hours. So we could do 30 days multiplied by 24 hours to work out the total number of hours in June. So we'll do 30 multiplied by 24 to give us an answer of 720 hours. Now we want to know, does Fred spend more than 5% of his total time driving to and from Dublin? So let's work out what 5% of the total time in June is. So 5% of the total time in June is going to be 0.05. So that's the multiplier to get 5% multiplied by the 720 hours. So let's work out what that is. It's already stored as my answer, so just multiply by 0.05 to give us an answer of 36 hours. In the month of June, does Fred spend more than 5% of his total time driving to and from Dublin? Well, we know that he spends 38 hours and 15 minutes. 5% of his total time would be 36 hours, so he does spend more than 5% of his time driving. Let's write that in a concluding sentence. So we'll say Fred spends more than 5% of his total time driving. Pause the video and give this next problem a go, and then we'll run through the solution together. So a bus leaves London for Winchester every 42 minutes and for Oxford every 39 minutes. Jessie and Phoebe arrive at the bus station at 0900, just as buses for both destinations are departing. Jessie's heading to Winchester and Phoebe is heading to Oxford. However, they'll only get on a bus if they can both depart at the same time. The journey from London to Winchester takes 1 hour and 55 minutes, and the journey from London to Oxford takes 1 hour and 22 minutes. At what time does Phoebe arrive in Oxford? The bus leaves for Winchester every 42 minutes and for Oxford every 39 minutes. Let's just remind ourselves of where each of them want to go. So Jessie's heading to Winchester. So we'll say Jessie is going to Winchester. And Phoebe's heading to Oxford. And it says they both arrive at the bus station at 9 o'clock, so 0900. It says they'll only get on a bus if they can both depart at the same time. So they missed the bus at 9 o'clock. And we want to say, when is the next time that both buses leave at the same time? So the bus for Winchester leaves every 42 minutes. So the next time it would leave is 9:42. And for Oxford, every 39 minutes. So the next time it would leave for Oxford is 0939. And we want to go up in multiples of 42 for Winchester and 39 for Oxford. We want to see when is the next time that both buses leave together, because that's when Phoebe will get on her bus. A clever way that we can go up in intervals of 42 minutes is we can start by letting our answer be equal to 9:42. So I'm going to type in 9 shift plus, so 9 hours, and then 42 minutes shift plus, and I'll store that as the answer in my calculator. Then I can add on intervals of 42 minutes. So I'll do 0 shift plus, that's 0 hours, and then type in 42 for 42 minutes. What this will do is it will take my answer, which is currently stored as 9:42. It'll add 42 minutes to it to give me an answer of 10:24. Now the clever thing about this is my answer is now stored as 10:24, and all I have to do is hit execute again, and it gives me the next time, which is 11:06. And I can just keep going up in intervals of 42. And I'll write down lots of these. So I've written down quite a few more all the way up to 7:30. And then what I want to do is do the same thing for Phoebe. So I'll put in 9:39 as my answer. So 9 shift plus, 39 shift plus, store that as my answer. And I know that the bus for Oxford leaves every 39 minutes. So I'll add on intervals of 39 minutes and list out some of those and see when I get something the same. So I listed out quite a few of these all the way up to 6:45 p.m. And what I noticed is at 6:06, there is a bus that leaves at the same time. We had to do quite a lot of listing there to get to our answer, but that's when Phoebe will get on the bus because that's when both buses leave at the same time. Now let's read the last bit of the question. The journey from London to Winchester takes 1 hour and 55 minutes, and the journey from London to Oxford takes 1 hour and 22 minutes. What time does Phoebe arrive in Oxford? So I'm not really interested in the journey to Winchester because I don't need to work out when Jessie arrives. I need to work out when Phoebe arrives, and I know the journey from London to Oxford takes 1 hour and 22 minutes. So she gets the bus at 18:06, and the journey takes 1 hour and 22 minutes. So I want to add these two together like this. Now I can do that on my calculator by typing in 18 hours, shift plus, 1800 is 6 o'clock, and then we have 6 minutes, so I'll type in 6, shift plus. So this reads as 6:06 p.m. and then add on my 1 hour, so 1 shift plus, and 22 minutes. And that gives a time of 19:28. So what time does Phoebe arrive in Oxford? Well, 7:28 p.m. Or 19:28 would also be fine. If you're using our lesson booklets, you can now complete exercises 1 and 2. Thank you for watching this video.